Okay, this is part 2 of my video presentation for abnormal psychology. I believe I left off in the previous video where I was discussing the fact that Maria had just written her book Wasted, and it did quite well. And her eating disorder was somewhat under control at that point. She had been in recovery for 2 years, I want to say, but that's when her mood disorder really spiraled it out of control. She had access to a great deal of money. She had to go on book tour for Wasted, and she was jet lagged and not sleeping and not eating and all of that type of thing. She had been diagnosed at that point, but she didn't take her disorder seriously and wasn't taking her medication properly, was drinking way too much, which was causing the medication she did take to not work because you nullify the medication when you drink alcohol. She ended up started having issues when she was overseas in London, I think, and then she came back and was in the hospital for a period of time to try to get the mania under control. She tended to have more manic symptoms than depressive ones, although when she did have depressive symptoms, they were extremely, extremely severe. I'm sorry, I just lost my train of thought. She went through a period of time where she was doing all of the crazy things that bipolar people do, sleeping around, being with a particular, her first husband, and that lasted for a while. It was sort of a whim, I want to say, and they were together for quite a while, but it just didn't work. He didn't quite understand the whole issue, all of her issues and all of that stuff, because there were times that she would fluctuate so rapidly that in the morning she'd be happy, and by the time dinner time rolled around, she couldn't get out of bed. She'd call it her afternoon funk or something to that effect. But there was a period of time, probably 2 years, that she doesn't have a great deal of memory because she was taking a great deal of meds, and they were trying to get her meds all situated, and she calls it her blank period, which is kind of startling because you don't really want to be non-functional, which is what she was for 2 years. She couldn't hold a job. When she wrote, she's a writer by trade. When she wrote, it was garbage. She just couldn't even pay bills. I mean, she was in and out of the hospital 5 or 6 times in a year, and that type of thing. I guess if you look up bipolar, she was the classic bipolar, and it's cut and dry. And then at that point, she met her second husband after several flings with guys she just wanted to be with for the sex and that type of deal. They did have some issues of their own, but because he had depression to deal with, and living with somebody with a mood disorder is not a fun thing to do because their mood changes so quickly that you don't know whether they're coming or going sometimes. And as good as they were for each other, they did have to take a break for a short period of time because it just wasn't working, and it was just too difficult for both of them. At this point, I think I'm going to stop and go to video 3 and then we'll just summarize and add a few other points and conclude from there.